Okay, today I'm going to talk about a type of tea called Yerba Mate, which is has some very interesting properties, which would be of interest to anybody involved in bodybuilding, fitness, or exercise. And it's especially good, apparently, to promote fat oxidation or fat burning, which I'm sure interests a lot of the people looking at this video. But before I get into the video, if you like my videos, please subscribe to this channel. I post new videos once a week. Usually it shows up on Tuesday, or I post them very late Monday morning. You can say they show up on Tuesday. So subscribe. Again, I put a new one on every week. When you subscribe, you'll get a some sort of email notice, I guess. It doesn't cost you anything, so at least you'll be up to date on what's going on with this channel. So what is Yerba Mate? It's an herbal tea. It's made from the leaves and twigs of a plant that grows mainly in South America. It's the thing about Yerba Mate. It has a couple of useful nutritional properties. It's very rich in antioxidants and nutrients. Well, not very rich, but it contains some antioxidants and nutrients. In a way, it's somewhat comparable to green tea, but it has slightly different properties. Some of the things that are in yerba tea include xanthines. Xanthines are stimulants. They also are found in tea, coffee, and chocolate. The example of xanthine compounds include caffeine and theobromine. By the way, theobromine, which is a xanthine that's found in, I believe it's in cocoa. Never let your dog get near this stuff. It can cause convulsions and deaths in dogs. I just want to mention that in passing. Yerba Mate tea also contains what they call caffeol derivatives, and these are the main health-promoting antioxidants that are found in Yerba Mate. An example of that is something called chlorogenic acid, which has been found in studies to greatly, to provide some really great effects on controlling blood glucose. Inhibits an enzyme that allows glucose to get into the cell. By doing so, it prevents excess glucose from being in the blood, or hyperglycemia, which is related to insulin insensitivity and possible diabetes. But it also does a number of the other things, and it's also involved in the fat oxidation effect offered by Yerba Mate. Other compounds in Yerba Mate include, as a group, saponins. Saponins, you might have heard of. They're found in various herbs, such as, what's it called again? Damn it, I can't remember. It's found in a number of herbs, for example, and they have, the saponins they're kind of bitter in taste, and they have like anti-inflammatory, and they lower cholesterol. So those are what the saponins are. Ginseng, that's what I was trying to think of. Ginseng, the active ingredients in ginseng are also in saponins. Also found in Yerba Mate are antioxidant compounds called polyphenols. Polyphenols are interesting compounds. They're not considered essential in human nutrition, but they provide a plethora of health benefits, including cardiovascular disease prevention. They prevent strokes. But the interesting thing about polyphenol compounds is that they have very, very low digestive ability. In other words, your body can only absorb a very small amount of them. But what happens is, when they get into the colon, the intestinal microbiome, which is the population of bacteria, fungi, and other organisms that exist in the colon, collectively known as the microbiome, they convert the polyphenols into active compounds. Then they're sent back in the blood, and that's how they work. So if you keep your microbiome healthy through eating, for example, prebiotic foods or probiotic supplements, sauerkraut, yogurt, that kind of stuff, you will actually get much better use from, if you take any type of polyphenol supplement, such as, they're in green tea, they're in coffee, and they're in grapeseed extract. These all have polyphenol compounds. The antioxidant power of Yerba Mate has been shown. Yerba Mate has been shown in studies to be a little bit higher than that of green tea, which is interesting because green tea is famous for its antioxidant abilities, mainly due to a compound actually a polyphenol in green tea called EGCG. But yerba mate actually is more potent as an antioxidant than green tea. Green tea contains 7 out of 9 essential amino acids, so it's not a complete protein. You wouldn't want to depend on yerba mate as a protein source, but the fact that it's a tea and contains 7 essential amino acids, that's pretty good. The practical implication of that is, let's say you're eating certain vegetables or fruits which lack certain essential amino acids that makes them incomplete proteins. If you have a cup of yerba mate tea with the fruit or vegetable, theoretically, you could be supplying the essential amino acids that are missing from the vegetable, and you now make the vegetable a complete protein, which is usable by the body. Yerba mate contains most of the essential vitamins and minerals. It doesn't have a lot, though. I mean, I wouldn't depend on yerba mate as a total supplement, but just it's interesting, though, that it's fairly complete as far as a nutritional source. As far as energy, yerba mate, a lot of people drink yerba mate because of energy. They think it boosts their energy. Yerba mate does contain 85 milligrams of caffeine per cup, compared to an average of 100 milligrams of caffeine in each cup of coffee. But the 85 milligrams of caffeine per cup of yerba mate is still more than the average 40 to 50 found in a cup of tea. So, any type of caffeine beverage is going to make you feel a little bit more energetic. Some studies, I've seen websites where they say that the fat oxidation ability of yerba mate is based entirely on its caffeine content. Caffeine is noted to mobilize stored fat. It does that by stimulating the release of catecholamines, such as norepinephrine and epinephrine, which in turn activate a fat cell enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase, which causes the contents of the fat cell triglycerides to be broken down into constituent 3 fatty acids and glycerol released into the bloodstream. That's a short course in fatty acid metabolism. But the point is, that's how caffeine helps you to mobilize fat. And these websites claim that the fat oxidizing effects produced by yerba mate are entirely based on its caffeine content, which I disagree with. I completely. My phone's making noise, and I'm going to turn it off. Hold on a second. Wait. I don't want to be having somebody call you, but I'll keep talking as I'm doing this. Hold on. All right. Anyway, getting back to it, there was one study where subjects were given a gram capsule of ground yerba mate leaves right before exercise, and they burned 24% more fat during moderate intensity exercise. Now, I should also note that if you want to use yerba mate as a kind of a fat burn, if you want to call it that, it works best with lower intensity exercise. In other words, if you're doing aerobics, you want to keep it, let's say, steady state. Let's say 60% of maximum heart rate. If you take something like yerba mate before that type of workout, you'll burn 24% more fat. However, if you take it before, for example, high-intensity interval aerobics, which involve alternate periods of high intensity with low intensity, you're going to always be more dependent on circulating glucose and glycogen, and yerba mate will not contribute to fat oxidation with higher exercise intensities. But when a higher reliance of fat as a fuel source will spare your carbohydrate reserves for more critical high-intensity exercises, because the higher the exercise intensity, the more your body relies on glucose and stored glycogen, especially in muscles. In other words, fat comes into play with lower intensity exercise. But by sparing carbohydrates and tapping and mobilizing fat, substances such as caffeine or yerba mate will spare the limited supply of carbohydrate that circulates in the blood as glucose and is stored in muscle as glycogen. So you get, in the long run, you get better exercise efficiency. Some other studies show that yerba mate has helps to protect you against infections. They can supposedly the studies show that yerba mate offers protection against bacteria, parasites, and fungi. A test tube study or in vitro study found that a high dose of yerba mate deactivated a particular bacteria called E. coli that's very common cause of what's known as food poisoning, which produces symptoms like stomach cramps and diarrhea. So if you're eating food that you suspect, I don't know why anyone would do this, but if you're eating food and you suspect that it might have organisms in it that can cause food poisoning, if you drink yerba mate tea with it, it'll deactivate the organisms like E. coli that can cause food poisoning, and nothing will happen. Compounds in yerba mate also prevent the growth of a type of fungus called Malassezia furfur. This is what causes scaly skin, dandruff, and certain types of skin rashes. Also, yerba mate, this is less relevant if you live in the United States, but unless you're in the deep south, it seems to offer some protection against intestinal parasites. So rather than take ivermectin for the same thing, you could drink yerba mate. Again, these particular studies, unfortunately, were based on in vitro isolated studies. They don't know how well it would work in humans, though. As far as the weight loss effect of yerba mate, some animal studies show that yerba mate can reduce appetite and boost metabolism. And again, some of the scientific websites attribute that to the caffeine content of yerba mate. And they also point out, which is accurate, that for a human to get an appetite reduction effect from yerba mate, you'd have to drink huge amounts of it. And now yerba mate is known to be safe. You can drink 1.5 liters a day, they've shown in studies. That's over a quart a day with no side effects at all. So you can drink a lot of it, but if it has an appetite reduction effect, let's put it this way, the appetite reduction effect is very weak. But what it does do, which is interesting, and this is where it differs from stuff like caffeine, is it interferes with what they call the differentiation of lipocytes. That's a scientific statement. What it simply means is it helps it to prevent the maturation of fat cells. In other words, it prevents the formation of new fat cells, and the fat cells that are produced tend to be smaller and hold less fat. Now that's a big thing. That's a big thing, because when you gain weight and you put on a lot of fat, your existing fat cells often divide and form new fat cells. It's called hyperplasia. And once those new fat cells form, they stay with you, and it makes it harder and harder to lose body fat. So a substance like yerba mate that can prevent the differentiation of immature lipocytes of fat cells into mature fat cells, that's a big thing. That caffeine does not do that. Human research, also some studies show that it increased the amount of stored fat that's burned for energy. In other words, when you drink yerba mate, what will happen is it will tend, especially when you exercise, your body will preferentially burn fat for fuel rather than carbohydrate, which again is great for helping body composition, improving body composition. A 12-week study of overweight people who were given 3 grams of yerba mate powder per day lost an average of 1.5 pounds. They also reduced their waist-to-hip ratio by 2%. And now, a reduction of the waist-to-hip ratio is an indication of a reduction of belly fat, which is very good, because belly fat, in turn, is a reflection of visceral fat or deep-lying body fat. That's the body fat you can't see. It's deep in the abdominal, kind of around the abdominal organs. It's in the omentum, which is this kind of material that holds the intestines in place. Visceral fat is the most dangerous type of body fat, because it's constantly being broken down, sent to the liver. It stimulates fatty liver. It's also involved with insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and all kinds of medical problems. So anything that reduces visceral fat is a good thing, and apparently yerba mate contributes to that. And also a good way of knowing how much visceral fat you have without having to take actual imaging studies like MRI or CT scans is you can go by the circumference of your waist. If you have a very wide waist, which is kind of flabby, the odds are you also have a lot of visceral fat, which is very bad. And the good news about visceral fat also is that it's the first fat to go. When you start to lose body fat, the visceral fat is the first. As soon as you do aerobics and workout, the visceral fat is the first body fat that you'll I mean, your body burns fat systemically, don't get me wrong. There's no such thing as spot reduction of fat. But your body, for some reason, when you start to lose body fat, it selectively starts to first burns the visceral fat. Again, I think it's because the visceral fat is what they call in scientific terms more labile, meaning it's more easily released than other fat. As I said, visceral fat's always being broken down and released into the blood where it goes to the liver. So obviously, fat that's more or less already ready to be released is going to be more susceptible to being oxidized when you exercise. I think that explains why. In that same study, the participants that were given a placebo gained an average of 6.2 pounds and increased their waist to hip ratio by 1% over the same 3-month period of the study. Yerba Mate also seems to help boost immune response, which is very important in this age of COVID. Anything that boosts immunity, you want to be you want to get involved in or utilize. Yerba Mate contains, again, I mentioned those saponins earlier that are found in a lot of various herbs. The saponins have pretty potent anti-inflammatory properties, and when you have a lot of inflammation in the body, it tends to dampen immune response. If you can control inflammation, immune response goes up. In addition to saponins, Yerba Mate supplies a couple of nutrients that are known to promote immunity, including vitamin C or ascorbic acid, vitamin E or tocopherol, selenium, and the mineral zinc. So, I don't think there's been a lot of studies on Yerba Mate as a stimulant of the immune system, but theoretically, based on its ingredients or contents, Yerba Mate would help to boost immune response. Yerba Mate might also help diabetics and people with blood sugar problems. As I said, it contains these caffeic acids. One of them I mentioned earlier, chlorogenic acid, is extremely effective for helping to control blood sugar or blood glucose levels. Unfortunately, chlorogenic acid also exists in coffee, but when the coffee is processed, a lot of the chlorogenic acid is destroyed. So you don't really get a lot of chlorogenic acid in regular coffee. You can get it in green coffee or unprocessed coffee, but it does exist in Yerba Mate. A recent animal study showed that Yerba Mate seems to improve insulin signaling in animals, which again would be a preventive effect against the onset of type 2 diabetes. Yerba Mate also actually affects the aging process because it reduces the formation of something called advanced glycation end products, which are involved in a number of diseases, but more importantly, AGEs, as they're called, advanced glycation end products. I'm going to have a big article on that in my Applied Metabolics because it's a major cause of aging that for some reason a lot of people don't talk about. AGEs, what AGEs are an accumulation of sugar in protein tissues. Too much sugar gets incorporated in protein, connective tissue, skin. It weakens the protein structures and it causes aging effects. It's also related to diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, other diseases. But the accumulation of AGEs as you age, and again, AGEs doesn't stand for age, it stands for advanced glycation end products. Glycation means sugar. When they get involved in protein tissues, like the proteins in your skin and connective tissue, they make them weak and stiff. Advanced glycation end products are the reason why older people feel so stiff and they have trouble walking, and it's an accumulation of AGEs in their body, and also a lot of the aging of the face when the advanced glycation end products get incorporated in the skin proteins, elastin and collagen. they interfere, they kind of weaken the proteins, and the skin will sag, producing wrinkles and lines. So my article will tell you how to control advanced glycation end products. You can control it to a larger extent through nutrition, but I'll give you one hint now. Don't overcook your foods. When you overcook food, you produce advanced glycation end products. The big debate in science is how much of these ages are absorbed in the food. Some scientists say a lot of them are absorbed, others say they pass right through you, but why take a chance? But the point here is that Yerba Mate will help reduce the formation of these advanced glycation end products. Yerba Mate may also have cardiovascular protective effects, mainly because of the antioxidant compounds it contains, such as the caffeol derivatives I mentioned, the polyphenol compounds. These are known to protect against heart disease. Both isolated cell studies and animal studies have shown that Yerba Mate extract seems to offer some protection against the onset of cardiovascular disease. Human studies show that Yerba Mate can reduce cholesterol levels. And a 40-day study of humans, the participants who drank 11 ounces of Yerba Mate lowered the bad cholesterol known as low-density lipoprotein by 8.6 to 13.1%. Now that's comparable to taking drugs that lower LDL. Now that's pretty damn good. So, Yerba Mate seems to offer protective effects against cardiovascular disease. So what about side effects? Well, some studies show that if you drink huge amounts of Yerba Mate for a long time, you could possibly increase your risk of upper respiratory and digestive tract cancers. But you'd have to drink like massive amounts for that to happen. Drinking a couple of cups a day or taking a supplement is not going to do that. A lot of the reason why the Yerba Mate tea can promote cancer has to do with the production of what they call polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. These are also found in tobacco smoke and in overcooked meat, like burnt, well-done meat. So, it's the carcinogenic compounds are formed in Yerba Mate when the tea is very hot. In other words, it wouldn't happen if you took, for example, a Yerba Mate supplement that's not cooked. So it's basically related. Then, of course, there's people that are sensitive to caffeine. Got to be careful with Yerba Mate. Some people, because of genetic differences, they're called polymorphisms. They don't break down caffeine as rapidly as others, and the caffeine tends to accumulate, and it can cause side effects like jitteriness, anxiety, and headaches, migraines. Some people can get even high blood pressure. So if you're one of those people that's sensitive to caffeine, you should probably be careful with Yerba Mate. And I think that's about it really for Yerba Mate. So it's good stuff. I mean, seems to have a little bit of a fat oxidation ability, but it's the rest of the health qualities are what really makes it stand out. I would say that it's right on par with coffee as far as producing health effects, and maybe a little bit superior to tea. Maybe right on the same level as green tea, but as I said, Yerba Mate has its own unique effects, which I discussed in this video. I'll probably have more about Yerba Mate in future issues of Applied Metabolics, because they're always coming out with new research on this stuff. And if you want more information on nutrition, exercise science, anti-aging research, effective fat loss techniques, ergogenic aids, hormonal therapy, supplement science, which ones work, which ones don't, women's health and fitness, subscribe to my Applied Metabolics newsletter, www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook group, where each day I post new information on nutrition, exercise science, and medicine. You have to be a subscriber to have access to that Facebook page. I also have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics webpage where current subscribers only can send me short questions, anything they might have read in Applied Metabolics, or any question that comes to mind, I'll answer as a service and appreciation of your subscription to Applied Metabolics. Obviously, I'm not going to answer unsolicited questions because I only have time for my subscribers, because I appreciate their support. You're welcome to leave comments under these videos about anything you might want for topics for future videos. Again, Applied Metabolics, it's anywhere from 30 to 50 pages every month. No ads, not trying to push any products, all evidence-based information. Plus you have something that no other digital publication can match, and I mean none, and that's my nearly 60 years of experience in fitness and bodybuilding. I've been in the trenches, I've competed in bodybuilding, I've made some mistakes in the gym. I will tell you in my publication how to avoid those mistakes. There's nobody that I know of that has my background of experience. I mean, there's a lot of these guys have PhDs, MDs, whatever, but they just can't match the practical knowledge that I've accumulated in 6 decades, and I impart all of that in my Applied Metabolics newsletter. Again, www.appliedmetabolics.com. And as I said at the beginning of the video, if you feel you're getting any benefit from these videos, please subscribe to my channel. I'm laughing because I was just about to say, and I've said this before, I don't have the fancy graphics. I'm not a big video guy. I don't have any video programs, to edit it. My good friend Rick Drayson was very much into that stuff. He had Apple software. He'd spend hours each day editing. In fact, when I used to do, here's a little anecdote for him. When I used to do interviews with Rick, he used to ask me if I can keep it to 12 minutes or less, because it took so long to edit the videos that I did. Well, not just me, but with anyone. The shorter the videos, the easier it was to edit, because he put so much work into it. I'm not into that category. I don't have video editing software. It's just not my thing. I don't have any dancing girls, cartoons. All I have in my videos is solid information. That's the truth. I'm not trying to sell you any cups, any T-shirts. I'm not trying to sell you any supplements. It's just a simple, basic truth. So that's about it. If you want to have the best friend you'll ever have, go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. Thanks for listening.